Greetings, Iain from RTO here. Hope you're all well on this Wednesday, 1st of March. And it's St David's Day, so happy St David's Day to anyone that's Welsh or watching this in Wales. Hope you have a fab day. So it's Wednesday, which means it's Marathon Day, and this is a viewer's request, and I'm not quite sure which of my subscribers asked for this one. But I've got a funny feeling it's either Ralph Peter or who else would ask for this? It's one or two. It's one or two or three people, and the band, of course, is Demon. Now, Demon are definitely one of the forgotten bands of the new wave of British heavy metal. For those of us that were actually there at the time, we do remember this band, and I must admit I sort of went off them, but I came back in. Some of the mid-80s stuff was pretty bad, but you can't win them all. So we have got, let's have a look at what Demon, when they were formed. Well, they were formed in 1979 by Dave Hill and guitarist Mal Spooner, both hailing from Leek in Staffordshire, and they were considered an important part of the new wave of British heavy metal. They've had various people through the band, and they were joined Carre Records, the same label as Saxon, of course, in the early days. So they've had 13 albums. I've got a few of them. The ones I haven't got are the ones in the middle, or the ones that are a little bit more 80s pop rock than rock. So I have listened to them though, so I have got a good comprehension of this band. So we've had 13 albums. So coming in at number 13 then, we go to the fourth album from 1985, and it is called A British Standard Approved. The band at the time were Dave Hill on vocals, John Waterhouse on lead guitar, Malcolm Spooner on guitar and vocals, Steve Watts on the keyboards, Gavin Sutherland on the bass recorder and congas, not the thing you would expect on a metal album, and John Wright on the drums. First track on this one is called First Class. It's a little bit strange. I don't know what's going on, but the bass line from Gavin is pretty good, but the rest of the song's a little bit, yeah. Then we get Cold in the Air. A good track. The keyboard does work. It's very atmospheric. Got some great guitar work here from John Waterhouse. That's an absolutely stunning track. Touching the Ice. It's atmospheric. The keyboards work well, and it's got some good guitar bits. Second Stage. This is where it starts getting a bit strange. Lots of noises. Doesn't make no sense at all. I don't know what's going on here. Proxima, my favourite track on this weird album. It's got some great guitar riffs on it. Then we get The Link. I like the guitar work, but the drums sound like they've had drying up cloths thrown over everywhere. They're just so muffled, but it's a great vocal from Dave Hill. I can't deny that. Then we get New Ground. Yeah, very 80s rock. Not particularly a fan of that. From the Outside, some got an acoustic guitar on it, and that's probably the only real highlight of that. And then we get Wonderland, probably the worst track Demon ever recorded. It's poppy, it's not metal at all. Then we get Hemispheres, British Standard Approved, second worst track. Goes on for 7 minutes, it's a bit cheesy, it's clap your hands, stamp your feet. Doesn't belong on a metal album. That was the last one. I can't really get on with this album. I remember when it came out and I thought, oh dearie, dearie me. I didn't like it at all. So I'm going to give this RTO ranking of 4 out of 10. Now coming in at number 12 is another album, the second album from 1985. They released British Standard Approval in the April, and in December they released their fifth album, A Heart of Time. So it's the same long lineup: Dave Hill, John Wright, Gavin Sutherland, Steve Watson, John Waterhouse. First track on this one is called Heart of a Time. It's a little bit lightweight with synthesizers on it, but it has got a good guitar solo, which isn't too bad. Then we get Walk in Your Own Light. Considering that this is 1985, it's very limp and wishy-washy. Genius. It's got a bit of a funky sound to it. It's probably the third worst track they ever did. And Expressing the Heart, it's not too bad. It's got an interesting guitar riff in it, but that's all I can say about it. High Climber, one of the better tracks on here. This is a bit more punchy, a bit more rocky. Crossfire, it's ruined by the synthesizer. It doesn't need synthesizer. It's just not ruined. And then we get Grown Ups, probably the best track on the album. It's got a bit of a power ballad, and I think it's got a decent guitar solo on that as well. Then we get this instrumental called Summit, just very wishy-washy. One Small Step. This was supposed to be a brand from the new wave of British heavy metal, and they come out with this wishy-washy pop stuff. Not very good at all. Oh, again, it's not the best album. The second of the two albums from 85. It's just a tad better, I think, on the ear than British Standard Approval. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 5 out of 10. Okay, then coming in at number 11. We've got to the 10th album now that was released in 2001, called Spaced Out Monkey. So it's Dave Hill on the vocals. Carl Wayne now does the keyboards. Gesundheit. Ray Walsamy is on guitars and acoustics. Steve Brooks is on guitars. John Cotterill is now playing drums, and Andy Dale is on the bass. First track on here, Never Saw It Coming. Great track. Bit grungy in places. Some real strong heavy riffs. Solid track. Sound of the Underground. Nothing to do with Girls Aloud. And there's some really strong riffs on this one. I think the drums are a little bit hollow on this for heavy metal, but the riffs are great. Cry from the Street. This is a great track. Dave Hill's still sounding great. Love this track. Proper demon sound. Then we get Homeless. Now this has got some nice acoustic guitar from Ray. The vocal is a little bit groggy from Dave. He can't sing the sort of gentle stuff like he used to. Child of the Dark Side. Really good track. You know, it's just got the lovely guitar riffs and little quirky bits, some good drumming, good track. Dreamline. It's probably a weaker track. It's got some that poppy keyboard on it still, and you know, don't need that in a metal band. Then we get Spaced Out Monkey. This is quite fun. It's an interesting arrangement, something a bit different, but it's pleasant. Then we get my favourite track on this album. It's called Streetwise Cowboy. Great guitar, so real solid heavy rock. This one, great track. Then we get Alone. It's just a short little thing. It's all right. Where Are You Coming From? Great track again. Some driving riffs. The guitar work is good. Both from Steve and Ray. Then there's Let Me Out of Here, an alternative mix, bit washy with lots of hyper keyboard in it. Not a bad album. It's got a mixed sort of track. There's some great tracks on here and then some little bit of hollow drumming, but I like listening to this one. It's pretty good. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 5.5. Okay then, coming in at number 10, we're getting 1987 now, the 6th album, Breakout. This was John Waterhouse's first album. Dave Hill, no it's not his first album. Got that one wrong, didn't I? Never mind. So John Waterhouse, Steve Kitt, Watts, John Wright and Andy Dale on bass. First track, Life on the Wire, great track on here. The guitar solo from John is pretty good, like that one. Hurricane, it's not too bad, good sound to it, great vocal from Dave Hill. Then we get Breakout. Oh, I love this track. It's a really good riff. Forget about the hideous keyboard bit in it, the rest of the track is absolutely exceptional. They should have just thrown the keyboard out the window. Living in the Shadow, okay, it's still got that 80s production on it, but it's really good track put together. I love the middle bit. It's really solid track. England's Glory. Now at the start of this you get the hymn Jerusalem, so you're feeling some kids singing on it. It's really patriotic, but the rest of the track's a little bit cheesy. But there you go. Standing in the Shadow. This is very Bruce Springsteen. Not the thing you expect from a metal band, but it's a good track. I quite like it. Hollywood, very 80s rock. It's alright. The Big Chance. This one isn't too bad. Even the keyboard sounds okay though. And it actually adds to it. It's got a catchy beat to it, and it's a great vocal from Dave Hill again. Through These Eyes, just one of them 80s ballads. It's got a good solo on it. I must admit, I like the solo from that. Again, we've got some really interesting tracks on here, and some really mediocre. But it's a good listen. So I'm going to give that one an RTO ranking of 6 out of 10. Okay then. Coming in at number 9, we have the third album, The Plague. Dave Hill, John Wright, Mal Spooner. This would be his last album before he died a year later. Les Hunt on guitars and Chris Ellis on the bass. So it's sort of some of the original band here. First track on here is called The Plague. Great track, but this is when the keyboard started to sort of creep in. And it sort of spoiled it. Nowhere to Run, love this track. Great guitar work here between Les and Mal. It'll be the last time you get to hear these two working together with them twin guitars. Good track. Fever in the City. It's got some good points. Again, lame keyboards. Open the window, throw the keyboard down out the window. Blackheath. This is a very short track. Some great drumming here from John Wright. Really, really good. And then we get Blackheath intro. I love the guitars on this. It's very short. It's 1 minute 50, but it's just great stuff. Then we get my favourite track. One of my favourite tracks actually. It's called The Writings on the Wall. I love the rolling drum start, the driving riffs, and the keyboards sort of sound okay on this one. The Only Sane Man, a good ballad, actually good, like that one. Step 4, bit poppy, but it's still a good track. This was the last album I think I brought for a long time by Demon. I just didn't like the keyboards on it, but I like all the guitar work. That's the thing. That's why I do like this album in places. So I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 6.5. Okay, coming in at number 8, I've got the 8th album from 1991, Hold On to the Dream. We got Dave Hill, John Waterhouse, Stephen Brooks, Steve Watts on keyboard, Scott Crawford's on the drums now, and Keith Mulholland is on the bass. So, first track on here, No More Hell on Earth. Keyboard intro, it's okay, but then it goes into a really solid rock track. Great riffing here. Excellent stuff. New Frontiers, some really good guitar work on here from John Waterhouse. The great solo from him, absolutely tremendous. Hold On to the Dream, good track. The keyboards are in the right place and the right tone. None of this cheesy synthy sound. They do add to the track. It's an excellent track. The lion's share. This is just good old-fashioned rock. It's got that proper metal sound to it. Really good track. And then we got my favourite track on the album, Eastern Sunset. This is a bit of an epic. Dave Hill's vocal on this is superb. I love how the tempo changes in this. It's just something about it. It's proper metal, sort of progressive metal. It's fantastic. Just like the next track, Barons of Darkness, another brilliant track. Some nice guitar work. The keyboard needs to just be toned down a little bit, but it does add to the track. Ivory Towers, another long track, more of a power ballad. There's a little bit too much keyboard in this, which is a shame because it's got an incredible guitar solo in it. Nothing Turned Out Right, great track. The bass line here from Keith Mulholland really drives the song. A great vocal from Dave Hill on that one. Out of the Shadows, love John's guitar work in this. I love the little sort of licks and riffs. Shoot Out for the City. I don't like this track. It's probably the worst track on the album. It's that horrible keyboard that just ruins the track. Coming Home, great vocal from Dave Hill. The keyboard just sound okay in this one. They got a better tone on it. This is one of those albums though that I really like, but some of the keyboard just doesn't fit for me. If they'd have kept with this sort of more thumpy, what I call thumpy, deep sound with the keyboards, I think it'd work better on the tracks. That high pitch sort of keyboard sound doesn't work for me, but it's still a very good album, so I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 6.6. Okay then, coming in at number 7, we're going to 1992 now, and the 9th album, Blowout. Different lineup again. Dave Hill on vocals, John Waterhouse lead guitar, Stephen Brooks guitar, Mike Thomas on the bass, and Paul Ross-Crowe on drums. First track on here is called Still Worth Fighting For. Great opening track. Driving riffs. Ferocious drumming from this Paul Ross-Crowe. Great vocal from Dave. Excellent opening track. Everything Has Changed. If you like your good old-fashioned rock metal, this is it. Great bass line, great guitar riffs and licks, and a little bit of shredding on there. Proper track. Then we get Visions of the Future. Again, a great track. Great bass line on this from Mike Thomas. Really like that track. Tell Me What You're Looking For. Paul's drumming is brilliant. It's really crisp and heavy. Great track that rocks. Sacred Heart. The guitar solo at the beginning of this from John Waterhouse is fantastic. Crazy Town, my favourite track. I just love the energy on this. The great riffs, the great drums. The solo is fantastic. The vocal is just Amazing. Then we have this track called A Victim of His Time, and in brackets a song for Freddie. Very strong lyrics. I think this may be about Freddie Mercury. It's a good little track. Then we got $1 Million Ride, another thumping track. The guitar work is brilliant. Shredding as well. What more do you need? War Games. Now I like this one as well. The bass line is amazing, and it's got one of Dave Hill's best vocals on this album. Soldier of Fortune, another great opening bass line. Love the bass line on this. Really drives the song. Some pretty meaty riffs as well. Visions of the Future 2. Another very, very solid track. Stop the Fire. Probably the weakest on the album for me. And the keyboard just sort of crept back in. I thought Demon were back on form with this. Great metal album. I've now popped it in the collection. It's just got some really nice guitar work. The bass lines are terrific on this. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7 out of 10. Excuse me. Okay then, coming in at number 6. Go to 2016 now. This is 13th and current album. Cemetery Junction. Different lineup again. So it's Dave Hill as ever on the vocals, Carl Wayne on the keyboards, Neil Odgen on drums, Dave Cottrell on guitar, Ray Walmsley on the bass, and Paul Hume on guitars. First track on here, Are You Just Like Me? Spirit of Man. Solid opener. Oh, the riffs on this are terrific. Great bass line. Dave Hill really singing well after all these years. Excellent track. Then we get Life in Berlin. A nice melodic metal track with a great bass line from Ray Walmsley, who's actually played guitars and bass for this band. Turn on the Magic. Classic sounding metal riff. Very, very good. Demon are really firing on all cylinders on that one. Then my favourite track on here, one of my favourite tracks on here, The Best Has Yet to Come. Great use of keyboard on this. They've really nailed it now. Got some great riffs. Superb little track. The Queen of Hollywood. This is a bit interesting. It's a little bit different sort of tempos, but it really works. Thin Disguise is a little bit wishy-washy. It's got to have, these albums these days, they've got to have this commercial ballad on it, and that's it. Cemetery Junction, great track this is. Dave Hill's vocals are strong as ever, which is good to see. Not a bad track. Drive, again, it's a driving solid track with some great riffing. Proper heavy metal for the 21st century. Miracle, this is a great ballad. It's got a fantastic guitar solo on it. Out of Control, it's got some good licks on it. Someone's Watching You, yeah, it's alright, a bit groggy. On the whole, this is a very good album, and yes, I've added this now to my Demon collection. You know, considering the band hadn't been around for a long time, they come back, and they come back strong, and they've always been like the underdogs of heavy metal to me, but this is a terrific album, and I'll give this an RTO ranking of 7.2. Okay, then coming at number 5, we go to the 12th album now. Now this came out in 2012, and it is called Unbroken. Dave Hill, Carl Wayne, Neil Odgen, Dave Cottrell, another bass player on here, Paul Johnson and Paul Hume on the guitars. We got this intro called Pray. I love intros. It's got some keyboards, some great little guitar here from this. Who's the main guitarist? It's Paul Hume, and it's really good. Then we get the Pray itself. My favourite track on here. This is just solid. Good old-fashioned heavy metal. The great vocals, the great drum sound, that twingy. Although it's only the one guitarist, but there's two guitars rolling around each other. It's fantastic. Shine a light. Bit of Hammond organ. There's nothing wrong with a bit of Hammond organ. Great riffs, some nice backing vocals on this. Good track. Unbroken. Again, just what it says on the tin. It's heavy metal. Raw. Better keyboard. The keyboard on this really adds to this. Good track. Wings of Steel. Really good track again. It starts a little bit gentler and then it just booms. Good track. For Your Head with Rock. What a title. Again, it's just full of great good old fashioned rocker starts. Great riffs, and then you got a bit of that what I call the Man of War chanting, but hey, it's good stuff. Great little track. Take Me to Your Leader. I'm always a sucker for great heavy metal riffs and solos, and this has got it. Absolutely brilliant track. Private Lies. Suspect Start. Oh, where's this going? But blimey, when it comes in, the guitar solo from Paul Hume is amazing. Great track. We Can Make It. Another solid track. Great riffs on this one. Fantastic vocal from Dave Hill. Really still strong singer. Then we get What About the Night. Solid enough track. One of my favourites. Absolutely stunning stuff on that. I Still Believe. One of these power sort of ballads. The vocals are very good. Some nice harmonies on here and a great guitar solo on this. Another very strong album from Demon. The last three albums have been really strong. You know, it just shows these older bands can still do a good track. I think the last 3 or 4 Demon albums have been some of their best work since their early days. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.5. Okay then, coming in at number 4, we've got the 11th album from 2005, Better the Devil You Know. Different lineup again. We've got Dave Hill on lead guitar vocals, Andy Dale on the bass, Neil Hodgson on drums, Carl Finney on guitars now, Ray Walmsley is playing ordinary guitar, and Paul Farrington on the keyboards. First track is the title track, Better the Devil You Know. Love this. The riffs are brilliant. What a bass line. Really feel it in your heart when you listen to this. Two great guitar playing tracks on here. Driving Rush, play off each other. Excellent. Dead of Night. Love the acoustic start of this, but then all of a sudden you get these gritty, great riffs. Terrific track. Standing on the Edge. Good track again. Proper metal riffs. The twin guitars sound great on this, with a bass line that sort of flicks between the two guitars. Excellent track. Taking on the World. The Hammond organ on this. What a track. Any track that's got Hammond organ on is brilliant for me. Temptation. Proper heavy metal for the 21st century again. Absolutely amazing track. Love that. Then my favourite track, Warriors. Keyboards sound good on this. The drums are great. It's just what I like. Crash Bang Wallop melodic metal. Live Again. It's got one of them sort of heavy metal riffs that sort of defines what heavy metal is. Great solo on that as well. Obsession. Very Uriah Heep. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a great track. Great vocals. It's got that lovely rich Hammond organ on it. Then the last track, Change. A ballad. Isn't too bad. It's got some nice piano on it and keyboard that mix, and another really good solo. As I said, these last few albums from Demon are very, very strong. And from all the ones from the 21st century, I think this is their best. Really good album. Not a bad track on this album, really. Little bits that are not as good, but it's a very, very strong album. And I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 7.6. So, top 3. Very hard to decide these 3. Now, this number 3 was a bit of a shock for me, but after listening to it again, I really liked it. I didn't like it when it came out, but now I think it's great. So it's from 1989, and it's the 7th album, Taking the World by Storm. Dave Hill's on here, Steve Watts is on keyboards and tin whistle on one track and recorder on another track. John Waterhouse is here and he plays tin whistle and recorder as well. Bass isn't done by Nick Bushell on here. Drums are Scott Crawford and Steve Brooks on guitars. Commercial Dynamite. I love this. The opening riff is brilliant. The drumming from Scott, pretty good. And then the guitar work both from Steve Brooks and John Waterhouse are amazing. Taking the World by Storm, them twin guitars. Oh, it's just a great sound, solid track. The Life Brigade. Now this is one of the tracks I weren't keen on when it first came out, but now I love it. Especially that middle bit in the when you got the guitar work from Steve and John, really play off each other well. Excellent track. Then we get Remembrance Day. Now this is my favourite track. This is quite a long track as well. Very progressive metal. Great lyrics. It's a very strong moving song. Sang brilliantly by Dave Hill. The keyboards really makes this eerie and moving. What do you think about Hell? I love this. It's got that orchestral keyboard sound. Great drumming. Really good. Blue Skies in a Red Square. Another very, very good track. Some great guitar work on here. Lots of shredding. Time Has Come. Probably the blip on the album. I've never liked this track. And when I heard this sort of put me off the album. I know it's one track, but it just doesn't belong there. It's a bit wishy-washy. I just don't know why I didn't like this in '89. But now I love it. It's amazing as you get older you more appreciate things. And I did have it, I got rid of it, and now I've got it again. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10. Okay then, top 2. The 2 albums I love by this band. There's not much between them. So coming in number 2 is the second album from 1982, The Unexpected Guest. It's the original lineup: Mel Spooner, Les Hunt, Chris Ellis, John Wright and Dave Hill. First track is an intro called An Observation. It's a 1 minute and a bit instrumental. Love one of them. It's one of them typical sort of heavy metal, eerie intros building up to something, and it is Don't Break the Circle, which has got some amazing riffs both from Les and Mal. Absolutely amazing stuff. The Spell, one of my favourite tracks by Demon, full stop. Some nice guitar work. The drumming from John on this is just absolutely amazing. Total Possession, great track. Thumping bass line here from Chris Ellis. Terrific stuff. I love the vocal from Dave on this. Absolutely out the top drawer. Son of a Madman, my favourite track on this. It's that riff from Mal Solid. Absolutely gorgeous, crunchy, superb stuff. Victim of Fortune. Some great guitar work from both Les and Mal. Solid stuff. Then we get have been here before. Probably there's one track on here that's never been a fan of this one. It's okay, but there are better tracks on this album. Strange Institution, one of Dave Hill's best vocals ever. Absolutely brilliant. It's got great guitar from Les here. The solo is terrific. The Grand Illusion. Love the guitar solo on this from Les. Stunning. It really is the best thing about this track. Beyond the Gates. Driving riffs on the rhythm guitar from Mal. Throwing a good solo from Les. It's an absolute stunner. And then the last track, Deliver Us from Evil. Absolute belter of a track. Out come the wah wah for this. Plenty of this on this from Les. It's just a great solid track. Not a bad album. Solid top from bottom. Even the one I'm not keen on. They're just solid tracks. The guitar playing from both Les and Mal on this is just outstanding. And I play this album quite a lot. So I shall give it an RTO ranking of 8.4. So, the number one album has to be, this is the one that goes back to 1981, their debut album, and it's the brilliant Night of the Demon. So it's Dave Hill, John Wright, Mal Spooner, Les Hunt and Chris Ellis. Starts off with a little intro instrumental called Full Moon. Bells, screams, laughs, rich keyboard sound. Oh, you knew something was coming, and it was called Night of the Demon. Reminds me of a UFO sort of track of the time. Absolutely brilliant. Dave's vocals are amazing on this. It's just a great track. Into the Nightmare. Classic track as far as I'm concerned from Demon. Love the interplay between Mal and Les on this. And Dave Hill's vocals are killer on this. Absolutely brilliant. Father of Time. Brilliant. Crisp guitar work. Proper heavy metal. Whoa. Decisions. Some great solo on this from Les. Really good vocal again from Dave. Absolutely top draw stuff. Liar. This is probably Les Hunt's best guitar solo. It's just absolutely brilliant. Great driving riffs as well. Big Love. My favourite track on this album. Probably my favourite track by Demon. With big riffs. The drumming from John. The gravelly vocal from Dave Hill. Terrific stuff. Ride the Wind, another sounding, UFO sounding. Nothing wrong with that. UFO, great band. Good track. Absolutely brilliant. The guitar work is great on that. Full to Play the Hard Way. The bass line from Chris on this is just amazing. And it seems like the other two sort of Chris, Les and Mal sort of go around his guitar, and then the drum from John really is incredible. Solid track. And the last track is called One Hell of a Night. Great rocker. Absolutely head-banging stuff. Solid riffs. Another great bass line from Chris. An amazing solo. What a way to end this great album. Now, to me, this is one of the most underrated debut albums of any band of the new wave of British heavy metal. The guitar work is superb. The production is good. There's not many people that remember this album. When I heard it way back, I loved it, and I love this album. One of my favourite heavy metal albums. From a band that should have had more love, but we are now giving them the love they deserve. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 8.5. Well, I've loved doing this one. I've sort of rekindled my love for Demon and added to my collection now. They're a great band. Dave Hill's just a fantastic singer, and you listen to the first debut and you listen to their current album. He's looked after his voice. It's a little bit deeper, but it's Dave Hill. It's an absolutely brilliant, brilliant singer. So you've never really heard this band, go and check them out. If you like heavy metal, new wave of heavy metal, go and check them out. Okay, that's all for today. We'll be back tomorrow though, and it's Battle of the Debuts tomorrow, and we've got two sort of what they're called. I wouldn't call them an indie band, Britpop. So it's a bit of a Britpop indie alternative rock, and it's Suede against Supergrass. And tomorrow, Pick and Mix is in the camera's view. Now, lately I've been slagging off this band a little bit, and that's Muse. So I thought tomorrow we'd look at probably Muse at some of their finest, and we're going to look at the DVD they brought out called Hullabaloo, which is basically the Zenith Paris gig on the recorded back in the day. I'm looking forward to that one. So have a great day, and especially if you're in Wales. I don't know if you do anything like the Irish do for Patrick's Day. But whatever you're doing today, have a great day, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye for now.